Evening, everybody. I hope you are well today, and I hope you can hear me okay on the microphone. Let me just double check. Yeah, you can. I noticed there was loads of shows on today, so I didn't really want to encroach on anybody else's channels. So I waited till they've all finished, and it looks like they have. So I'm here for about an hour. I wanted to do a quick match review. Obviously, Liverpool beat Bournemouth 3-0 at Anfield. Quite comprehensive game. Kind of won the game in 10 minutes space, really. First goal was obviously scored by Diaz, and then literally about, I think it's a minute later, maybe even 57 seconds later, from the kickoff, Diaz scores again. And then obviously Darwin Nunez finishes the game off with an absolute wonder goal. Great result. I think that is our 14th win against them. I need to look at the numbers, and I'll obviously go through that. But really, really great start. Obviously, we had a slip up against Nottingham Forest. I think it's a blessing in disguise that that's happened earlier on in the season rather than later on in the season. And it was literally a wonder goal. Like, they had two shots in the whole game, and that one flew in the corner and off the post. It was a little bit like Nunez, if I'm completely honest. It shouldn't have gone in, but it did. It was an interesting game. They had the same number of shots as us. We both had 19 shots, but they had 6 that our goalkeeper saved, and we had 9 that their goalkeeper saved. We had better chances. Keller pulled off some good saves, but it was at the end of the game when we were already 3-0 up. It was more about a game that we waited for the right moments and took advantage. It puts us second in the league, 1 point behind Manchester City. We've now scored 10 goals and conceded 1 goal this season. Our XG is less than 1 goal, which proves how much of a worldie that goal was. Our XG against us is less than 0.8, lower than anybody else in the league. There's a lot of interesting numbers which have coming out of the way Slot plays football, the way Liverpool now play football. There's a lot of interesting numbers that we can start looking at now, that we can see exactly how well we play in games, exactly how much possession we have in games. That was another game where it was high possession. Bournemouth are a good team. Like I know they got beat by Chelsea, but they didn't deserve to get beat by Chelsea. And Chelsea just beat West Ham 3-0, like, pretty convincingly. Chelsea look like a bit of a wild card, if I'm honest. Like, whether they win, whether they don't win, I don't know. I think it's interesting. So I wanted to go over the game a bit. So obviously the game started with Antonio Semedo in the 4th minute having a goal disallowed for being offside, which it was. He moved too early, but we were picked off quite early on in that game. And we also have to look at where that goal came from. That goal came from Robbo's side, from Andy Robinson's side. So he was out of position for that goal. And that was obviously rectified. later on in the game, where Andy Robertson played a lot more deeper, more central. There was a lot more midfield battles that were won during the rest of the game. McAllister was great. Gravenberch was sensational again. Looks like Gravenberch is really taking on the Max Wiefer role, and that was a position that I was worried about, that we didn't have a guy that could do that. But it looks like Gravenberch is slotted into that role perfectly, where he can play a 68 to 10, in and out of games. We seem to have three number 8s that can play anywhere now in midfield, whether they're deep, whether they're in the middle, or whether they're advanced, which is great. And also Szoboszlai, who can switch left and right, and kind of do an overload on the left-hand side or an overload on the right-hand side in the midfield, which helps us win possession back. It's interesting in games. A little bit more about the game. Obviously, Luis Diaz scored on the 26th minute. Long ball from Konate. Konate actually played 2 brilliant balls in 2 of the goals. The first one was for Diaz's first goal, which he's got an assist. And the second one is his pre-assist, where he plays it up to Nunez, who Nunez then heads on to Salah, and Salah plays Nunez in for the third. But Konate playing long raking passes is an interesting thing, because I've never seen him do it. Slot was asked about it today during his interview for the pre-match game against West Ham, and he mentioned that they man-marked Virgil van Dijk, which meant that Konate had space to play the ball out. So he did, and he played a couple of brilliant balls and got an assist. So obviously, who'd have known, eh? Who'd have known Konate's got skills? More ammunition that we've got now with a player that can obviously do that, because that's something that we cried out for Quansah being in the team for, because he can pass the ball better. But it looks like Konate's not bad at passing either, which is interesting. Luis Diaz is now on 5 goals, by the way, 5 goals and 1 assist this season, which is joint 4th in Liverpool's all-time greats in Premier League starts. Mo Salah and I think it's Mo Salah, Luis Suarez are on 6, and Robbie Fowler and Michael Owen are on 5, and obviously Luis Diaz is among that now with 5 goals. Interesting, and also, like, I've seen a lot of people questioning how Salah played. Salah's on 7 GA this season already. Like, Salah's on more GA than he's had since the first season he was at Liverpool. So I think we probably need to all calm down a little bit about Salah, because he's doing fine. Like he got an assist at the weekend, and it was a good assist. He was heavily involved in the game. Salah's winning more duels and doing more dribbles this season as well, which may be going unnoticed. I think we're okay. Like, if we start losing games and start not scoring enough goals, and Salah's not involved in scoring or assisting, then I think maybe we should then start questioning, like, how he's getting on. But so far so good. And as you've also noticed, Slot's now starting to rotate his team, but he's not rotating his team like like Jurgen used to do, where he used to bring like 2 or 3 in. He seems to be rotating singular, like, and different positions. So obviously, Nunez has now played instead of Jota. Konate's came in instead of Quansah. I would think there's probably more players that are now going to start rotating into the team. Maybe the Wolves game away, he might play Jota back in there again, or he might bring Curtis Jones in for Dominic Szoboszlai. You know, you just don't know what he's going to do now, but he might start moving players in to get them some more game time. We can't have only 2 changes in the whole of the Premier League season already as being the only changes, and one of them is only Quansah for half a game, and one of them is Jota out and Nunez in. Like, we need to have a little bit more rotation, because you can't have these guys coming in from the cold with no game time whatsoever and expect them to play. I'm not talking about substitutes. I'm talking about starts. I'm talking about game time, like more, not a substitution, actual game time. Jones came on for Szoboszlai after like 60 minutes, so he wasn't like brought in. He just came on. There's 15 of you in here. It's a bit slow tonight, but if you can like and subscribe, that'd be great. Appreciate it. So a little bit more about the game. So Liverpool had 3 corners. Bournemouth had 9. It was interesting to see that our foul count had dropped a little bit more now. So we had 10 fouls to Bournemouth's 12. Obviously, Trent broke a record. I don't think he broke a record. I think he just hit his 100. So 100 goal involvements for Trent, and that's 19 goals and 81 assists. Really interesting numbers. Nunez also ended a run of 14 games and 22 shots without scoring, which I think's really interesting as well, because he's not been great for quite a while. So that's 14 games and 1 goal. So let's not get ahead of ourselves with him yet. I just don't think we should get ahead of ourselves with him yet, because it's just 1 game, and if you actually listen to some of the pundits, Michael Owen said that, like, the Nunez shot was the most ridiculous shot. Like he shouldn't have tried a shot like that. Like, the chances of it going in are really slim. Even Slot in his interview today said when he went to take the shot, I was like, oh God, what have you done that for? And then when it went in, he was like, oh, it was a great idea. But it could have easily gone into Rose Ed. Like, it really could have. So let's not get too carried away about Nunez. He's only scored 1 goal in 14 games. Okay. It's interesting with Diaz though, because I see a lot of people saying that, well, Diaz hasn't changed. Diaz has always been this good. I don't necessarily think that's true. I thought he was really poor last year with his end product. However, he did go through quite a lot of trauma, and that could be the reason why. And he was under a lot of pressure because the rest of the team were terrible up front as well. So that could be a reason why. However, it took him till February to hit 5 goals last season. Okay, so that's how ahead of the game he is now with goals this season. I mean, he's nowhere near the likes of Haaland. who scored more goals than most teams. But it's a great threat to have that Nunez is scoring. Sorry, Diaz is scoring goals. He scored 5 goals with 11 shots so far this season from inside the box. None from outside the box. He's had 2 shots. So long may that continue. I also feel I'll do some data analysis on this as well. What did I want to talk about? Yeah, so if you just look at the last couple of games that we played against Bournemouth, we obviously beat them 4-0 away back in January, and that was Nunez 2 goals, Jota 2 goals, which was interesting. And then we beat them 2-1 back in 2023 with Gakpo and Nunez. And then we beat them 3-1 at home with Diaz, Salah and Jota all scoring. And that was when McAllister got sent off. The year before was the game where earlier on that year is the game where we got beat at their ground 1-0 with Patrick Billings scoring. And that was when our owners were at the game. And then the year before that was when we beat them 9-0. When Diaz scored 2, Elliott scored, Trent scored, Firmino scored 2, Virgil van Dijk scored. There was an own goal from Chris Mepham and Carvalho scored. And that was an incredible game. So, Diaz and Nunez, that is a happy hunting team for them. They do scored a lot of goals against that team, which I think is interesting. And that's really all I've got to say on that. I did want to quickly touch on Gravenberch, because Gravenberch was absolutely sensational in this game. Just some of his numbers. So he played the whole 90 minutes again. Gravenberch has played every single game this season, by the way. 96 touches, 74 out of 84 passes completion, 88% pass completion. Gravenberch is on an average of about 82 to 84% pass completion this season. It's absolutely sensational at the moment. 2 out of 3 long balls completed, 1 key pass. He had a shot on target. He had a successful dribble. He won 5 out of 8 ground duels, and he won 2 out of 3 aerial duels. And he was fouled twice, 2 clearances, 1 interception, and 1 block shot. Had a really good game for me, like really good game. And that block shot as well was like in the 96th minute, where he tracked the runner right through the half and blocked the shot. I also wanted to talk about Konate as well, because Konate had 4 out of 4 aerial duels. Absolutely sensational. 8 out of 13 long balls, which I think is a really interesting statistic for Konate. He's not known for his long passes, but he was used repeatedly in that game. Not Trent, but Konate was used repeatedly, and was very accurate with his long passing. Big chances created, obviously 1, and he obviously got an assist. Had a fantastic game for me, Konate. Luis Diaz, 2 goals, obviously, 48 touches. 48 touches with 2 goals. Pretty sensational. 94% pass completion with 32 out of 30 passes. This is something that I'm seeing as a real benefit in Diaz now this year. More and more of his passing goes to our players. The amount of times he lost the ball last year was unbelievable. Possession was lost, fouls were given so many times last year. Diaz has now started to be able to hold on to the ball and get the ball to our own players, which keeps us higher up the pitch. I think it's great to see. One key pass, 4 shots on target, 3 out of 5 successful dribbles. He obviously missed a big chance. It was a good save, but he should have squared it, if you ask me. 4 out of 7 ground duels. He got man of the match. Queven Keller was very good in this game as well. Some of the numbers on Queven: 7 saves he made, 5 from inside the box, 1 a brilliant claim in the air, 1 high claim, 3 out of 6 long balls completed. He got an 8.6 on SofaScore, so he was almost man of the match in this game. And it's interesting that everybody piled on Salah. Salah got an 8.2, so Salah was ahead of Konate in this game. I will give you some of Trent's numbers though, because I didn't particularly think Trent had a great game. 6 out of 13 ground duels, not good. Lost possession 21 times, not good. He got dribble past 3 times. So let's just put this into context, yeah? Virgil van Dijk had 2 seasons where he wasn't dribble past. 2 seasons that Virgil wasn't dribble past. Trent was dribble past 3 times in this one game. Just putting it into context, okay? 4 out of 8 long balls. Obviously created a big chance, which we know about. You know, credit where credit's due. It was a great bit of running that Trent did, and obviously passed the ball to Diaz, and then Diaz nutmegged the goalkeeper, which is interesting. That's not something that you see Diaz do a lot of, but Diaz has been closer to the opposition's goalkeeper now, which is great. So let's hope that continues. I also wanted to kind of cover a few things just about Liverpool's start to the season. I'm just going to share my screen. Where is it? It is. No, it's not that screen. It's not that screen. I'll tell you what, I'm just going to share this screen, and then I'm sure, yeah, and then I'm sure I'll be able to share the screen that I want to share. But for some reason I can't. This one here. Okay. Okay, so I just wanted to touch on an overall view of what we've done in the Premier League this season. Okay. So as you can see, we've got 10 goals. Okay, so goals per match is 2. Okay. Now, you can only beat who's in front of you. I understand that. Yeah. But if the statistics stay as 2 goals per match, then you have a huge amount of wiggle room if you do concede, which means that the opposition needs to score 2 goals. Last year, our attack had to score 3 goals to win most of our games. So if we put that into perspective, the opposition need to score 3 goals now to beat us, when we had to score 3 goals to beat them because we conceded so many goals last year. Like, I think we need to understand that this is the same team that Jurgen had last year. Okay, nothing's changed. It's the same team, and the manager or head coach has been able to come in and look at the deficiencies and look at the things that weren't working last year. The midfield wasn't working properly last year. The defence wasn't working properly last year. The attack wasn't working properly last year in certain areas and certain places. He's come straight in and gone, right, what do I want to do with this team? Okay, I want to make us defensively solid so teams don't score goals and don't get big chances. And we can see the evidence of this already. And we are only 5 games in. Well, we're 6 games in because we play the Champions League game. So we're 6 games in. And we could already see this as evidence because we've only conceded 2 goals. 2 goals this season. One was a worldie from, I can't remember his name, from Forest, the ex-Chelsea lad. One was a worldie, and the other goal was a really well-taken goal past Alisson by Pulisic from AC Milan. A really well-taken goal. Like, didn't have much of an angle to shoot from. And the other goal, which Nottingham Forest scored, they didn't have much of an angle to shoot from. So you have to be pleased with this. This has to be a big, big positive. And if we can win the next couple of games, I do feel like we're in a much better position where we can sit there and go, you know what? We've got a new manager. We've got new coaching staff. We've got new ideas. This league's all improved. All the teams have improved. We haven't. We haven't improved, but all the other teams have improved. And we're in and around. We might be second, we might be third, we might be first, but we'll be in and around. And we've always been a team that is going to be in the top 3. Like, it didn't matter. It didn't matter who we got, manager-wise, coach-wise. For me, I felt like the team was always going to be in and around the top 3. But Arsenal don't scare me, and Manchester City are having a bit of an issue. Like, they're conceding goals, which isn't normally like them, yeah. And they've lost Rodri now for the whole of the season, which is a huge blow. If we can take advantage of that in the next 5 or 6 games, going up over Christmas, I think that's a really good position to be in. And Arsenal feel like they defend too much and they will drop points. You know, you can't play anti-football and win a league. Like, it's never been done before. Anti-football doesn't win your leagues. Even Jose Mourinho won leagues not playing anti-football. I mean, he didn't play anti-football when he won leagues. He played anti-football when he didn't win leagues. So I think it's really interesting. I mean, if they do get a replacement, then they get a replacement, but they've still got half a season where we've got a chance to overtake them. We've got a chance to see if they falter. I think it's interesting. Anyway, we also have to look at the number of shots. You know, we've had 81 shots so far this season. We seem to be taking less shots. So we had a habit of just shooting from everywhere last season. And we also had a habit of being over 60% of our shots were outside the box last year. Like, that's not a great stat to have when you don't score a lot of goals from outside the box. So you need to be in the areas to score better chances. And if you just look at the numbers, 34 on target, but a 42% shooting accuracy. They're really good numbers. Like, they are great numbers. Like, do you remember Nunez last year was getting a shooting average of like 10%? Like, they're much better numbers. 18 big chances created. You know, big chances get you goals. 10 of those goals would have come from those 18 big chances. So we haven't missed a huge amount of big chances. We've missed 8 in 5 games. It's really positive signs. They're really positive signs in both areas, in attack and defence. And we've obviously hit the woodwork 4 times. We always hit the woodwork. But two of those shots that hit the woodwork, sorry, 3 of those shots that hit the woodwork were all deflected shots. So let's just put that into perspective. 2 of them were against were against Nottingham. 2 of them were against Brentford that were deflected by defenders onto the crossbar. So they were going in. They were going in, but they were deflected, and they were really good blocks. One of them was a brilliant save against Forest. It was a great save, but he hit the post. Yeah, and that was Diaz. And the other chance was another shot, but I think that might have been offside. Was that offside? The one from who hit the post? Chiesa hit the post, but has somebody else hit the post? I don't know who else has hit the post now. I don't remember the fourth shot that hit the post. I don't know. Maybe. If you also look at the passing accuracy, 87% in games. Sensational numbers. Clean sheets, obviously 4, goals conceded 1. Goals conceded per match, 0.20 is the lowest in all 5 leagues in Europe for chances conceded. That is how well we are playing. Like, that is the sheer change from last season, where we conceded 38 goals in the end, and we also had a goal conceded in the first 15 minutes. There was only one team in the Premier League that was worse than us, and that was Sheffield United, who went down bottom. We were dreadful. We were absolutely dreadful in conceding goals in the first 15 minutes. That's just completely stopped. Like, it's just stopped. Like, you've got 16 saves, 7 of them were in the last game. So the saves have been vastly reduced, and not one-on-one saves, vastly reduced. Less block shots, more interceptions, which I think is interesting, because the way we now play with our defence and our midfield is to block off the passing lanes and not to press ridiculously high. We're winning more duels, and we're conceding more fouls. Like, our players are being fouled more. And another really interesting stat, by the way, in case you didn't know, is we've only been offside 3 times. Like, we had the highest offsides in the Premier League last year with 100, and 36 of them were from Darwin Nunez. In case you didn't know, these are just numbers. Last season, in our first 5 games, we'd already been offside 17 times. Like, it is a big, big difference to not be offside, because if you're offside, you give away a chance that you're creating, and you also give away the ball back to the opposition. So these are all interesting factors into why Liverpool are better all over the park this season. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that little rant on my stats. I also wanted to show you this. And if you don't follow him, I think he's really good as well. His name's Parted Beard. He comes up with some brilliant stats, by the way. This is Mo Salah's GA in the first 5 Premier League games since he came to Liverpool. Okay, he's having the best start to his season that he's ever had at Liverpool. So if anyone doubts this guy and thinks that he's tiring or 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 not playing as well, you need to look at the overall numbers, because he's having the best season he's had at Liverpool in his career so far. So if he goes and plays against Wolves and gets a hat-trick, Mo is on par to match any other records he's ever had in the season for Liverpool. But so far, he's doing great. And you also have to look, he's not the only goal scorer. He has a guy that scored more goals than him. Mo scored 3 goals this season. Yeah. He's got Diaz, who scored 5. Have you not thought Mo doesn't need to score? Like, Mo isn't needing to score the goals. Like, he's not the guy that's desperately trying to score the goals now, because he knows that other players are scoring goals. Because you've got Diaz, who's had 2 braces now in Premier League games. So Mo knows that he can take his foot off the gas. Mo can be more of a player, more of a team player now. He can be more involved in the build-up. He can be more involved in the creation. Like, he might have to do more trapping back and defending. Like, this is all part of the way Slot plays. But if you've got other players that are taking away the burden of Mo having to score all the goals and all of the and create all the chances, this might be the reason why Mo's been a little bit quiet the last 2-3 games. But he's still heavily involved in the games. Like, you need to look at his numbers in the games, because he's still hugely involved. Also, Mo's numbers are better than anybody else's in the league. Still, like, his successful dribbles are 2 per game. That's 50%. He's doing better than Neto, Saka, Palmer, and Buemo, who everyone's raving about. Like, he's still there. Like, Mo's not gone anywhere. Like, you need to look at what Mo does in the games. He's having a great season. Let's not doubt him. There's no reason to be negative about it. So I wanted to touch on this now. So this might seem a bit controversial. So we kind of covered the game, okay? I will do a preview for the game tomorrow. I'll probably do it tomorrow, but I mightn't even do a preview because it's just a Carabao Cup game. I'm not sure yet. But what I do want to talk about is, I wanted to talk about contracts. Okay. Now, this may seem a bit controversial. Okay. And I've said this on Grizz's show, and I've also said it on, I think it was Ensman's show. I do have a feeling that we're probably going to lose 2 of those players, maybe even all 3. Okay. And the reason why I say it, okay, is, and you're not going to like it, but it's all about sustainability. And it's all about managing your club so we can continue at the same pace we've always been at. Yeah. Now, if you think about it, look, I don't think it's that scary, by the way. I really don't, because I think we have a coach. It's not about individuals. It's not about individuals. It's about the work of the team. I feel like in the past we've relied on too many players. We've relied on them too much, and you rely on Salah too much. You rely on Trent too much as the creator. You rely on Virgil van Dijk as the main defender. I feel like Slot has a system and a way of playing in games and against opposition that means that we can beat teams without having to have these world class players play out of their skin. I think we will get quality players. Like I still believe we will sign quality players. Like so, Ian Graham spoke a lot recently because he's got a book out, and Ian Graham is the guy that got us the guy that got us Coutinho. Yeah, Ian Graham's the guy that's found us some, Daniel Sturridge. Ian Graham's the guy that's found us Luis Suarez. Some incredible players over the years. Yeah, and he broke it down into an analogy which was basically it's hard to replace what is already there if what you have is better than what's out there. And as fans and as people who watch Liverpool FC and also Premier League, we may sit there and go, that guy's better than that guy. But you're not managing the team and you're not running the data and looking at the players. And if you have players that are playing well and have done for years, and the numbers are exceptional, and a lot of Liverpool players' numbers are exceptional, and they have played for a long time, and they have done great jobs. A lot of them have. How are you going to replace that? Now you talk about quality, yeah. If you just look at this, this wage structure. So we have 2.46 million that's spent on wages a week. Okay, that's a week. Okay, if you take our three highest paid players out of that equation, you then take your wages to under 2 million. Okay. All right. If we're looking to be a sustainable club, yeah, we want to be reducing our wage structure. And that is possible. That is entirely possible. You can reduce Liverpool's wage structure down to 200,000 as a maximum cap. If you lose those three players who are all on their final year of their contracts, and this could all be a ploy to bring Liverpool FC into a lower wage structure, which means we're more sustainable, which means we can sign those gems, we can sign those players, but Liverpool don't pay mad wages. And it's interesting, and I see where you're coming from here, but it's interesting that we let Thiago Matip leave. Thiago was on over 200,000. Matip was on 150,000. And Adrian was on 70,000, I believe. Carvalho and Van der Berg were on, I don't know, like 20, 25, something like that, maybe. But can you see how high our wage structure was with that? That would have been putting us on nearly 3 million. That's a huge amount of wages. But if you cap those three players off and they all go, yeah, you can have a wage cap of 200,000. And if you can't attract players that are on 200,000 or under, then what job are you doing? Because You've literally just got Federico Chiesa in for 150,000, who is a stellar player. This guy was worth 100 million a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago. McAllister's on 150. Alisson's on 150. These three are an anomaly. They really are. If you want to keep Trent, and I would say that Liverpool are trying to keep Trent. Yeah, I would say we are trying to keep Trent. But if you want to keep Trent at Liverpool, you're going to have to pay him more than Mo Salah. And if you want to keep Mo Salah at Liverpool, you're going to have to pay him more than Trent. And if you want to keep Virgil at Liverpool, you're probably going to have to pay him more than Trent, because these guys are icons. These are the world's best in probably all their positions, all just sat there. Do I think Liverpool can challenge next season if we lose all three? Yes, I do. I do believe we can challenge if we lost all three, because we would replace those players with £200,000 a week signings who could easily be Zubamendi, Frimpong, Mohamed Kudus. None of those guys are on over 200,000. They're not. They're just not. If you're going for the likes of Rodrigo's and Musiala's and, I don't know, Florian Wirtz, and you're going for those kind of guys, they will be on 300,000 plus. Liverpool are never going for those players. It just isn't going to be how Liverpool run the club. You've now got Michael Edwards back. And I get it. Look, I get this isn't a great conversation to have. But you now have Michael Edwards back, who never wanted to give Mo a contract to exceed the 250,000 mark. That would never have happened under Edwards. Edwards would have sold Mo before he gave him a massive pay rise to that extent. It was only 4 years ago, by the way, that Trent was on 40 grand a week. These numbers are extortionate to the way Liverpool want to run their club. And you may turn around and say, oh, we're penny pinching and we're being cheap or whatever. And you've got every right to say that. You've got every right to say that. But we are run to a sustainable level. We just are. And if we exceed and win leagues and win cups with not paying players 500 grand a week, and we've done this in the past, by the way, we won the league when none of our players were paid 350 grand a week. And Virgil van Dijk was on 180 grand a week. These guys were on over 200 grand a week. Well, Mo was on 220, I believe, back then. But these were all on under 250 grand a week. Like our wage cap was 220, which was Mo, when we won the league. So it can be done. And the numbers don't need to go up. Like, why would you pay a 32-year-old, and I'm putting this out there to the chat, whether you like it or not, whether you agree with me, please write it in the chat. But why would you pay a 32-year-old £350,000 a week for another 2 years? Like, that is just not the way things should be done. He shouldn't be getting the same money or more. He should be getting less, because he's older. He's getting older. He will depreciate in value. This does not make sense to me, which makes me think that these guys either take a pay cut or they might be sold or allowed to just leave on freeze. And it'd be good to get your opinion. Do you think Trent goes to Real Madrid on a free transfer? Yes or no? Do you think he leaves on a free transfer to Real Madrid? Yes or no? After listening to his last interview, yes or no in the chat? Because if you listen to his last interview, which is the only interview he's given, he specifically said, I will be at Liverpool for a minimum at the end of this season. That's what he said. He didn't say, I'm staying at Liverpool for like the next couple of years. He literally said, I will be here for a minimum to the end of the season. I feel Trent is already gone. I feel he's gone. I feel that we have tried on numerous occasions and we've not been able to get there because he wants too much money. I totally get that. But he shouldn't be getting paid £350,000 a week. He shouldn't be getting a bumper 2-year contract on the same money. That's not right. That's the type of stuff that we laugh at Manchester United for doing. That is the type of stuff that we all laughed at Manchester United and went, oh, look at Man United giving Casemiro 500 grand a week and he's a 31-year-old. That's the stuff we laughed at Manchester United for. So why on earth would we want our club to do it? Virgil van Dijk has got enough money. Like, Mo Salah has enough money. So they shouldn't be given more money. Like, that's not the way it works. Like, if anybody should get more pay in his contract, it should be Trent, because Trent's now going into his prime and Trent probably should be getting bumped up to like 250 grand. But Trent will be offered 350 grand, 400 grand at Real Madrid or Bayern Munich, by the way, because Bayern Munich are now looking at Trent. So put Trent on 350,000. If Salah wants to leave, I'm not bothered. I mean, that's fair. That's fair. But you have to look, and this is what I'm trying to say. You have to look at the man who is in charge. And the man who is in charge is Michael Edwards. And Michael Edwards would never have given Mo 350 grand and broke our wage structure. He would never have done it if he was at Liverpool. It's not how he does things. It's not how he runs the club. If he was the director of football at the time, he would not have done it. And he won't do it now. The reason why these guys have not been offered any contracts is because we are not going to give them pay rises and we are not going to give them what they want, because we don't see any value in extending these contracts on more money when they will depreciate in value. And it's just a fact. It's just a fact. And it's the reason why we are linked with loads of centre-backs. It's the reason why we're linked with Jonathan Tah. It's the reason why we're now linked with Mark Gahey again. It's the reason why we're linked with Hincapié. Like, you know, Kimmich is now linked with us again. You know, it's the reason why we're linked with defensive players. It's the reason why we're linked with right backs. It's the reason why we're linked with Frimpong again. You know, these are going to come back into play because these guys have only got four months left before they can start talking to clubs. And I wouldn't be surprised if all of these players have had your Barcelonas, your Real Madrids, your Bayern Munichs, your PSGs, Saudi Arabia. I wouldn't be surprised if all of these clubs have been talking to these guys and trying to get them this is a really, really difficult challenge to get these guys signed up to new contracts, because Edwards will not give them more money. He might give Trent more money, but I don't think Trent wants the money that we would offer. But if you take those three out of our wage structure, we lower our wages to under 2 million a week. And then if you've got the likes of Andrew Robinson, who will probably be sold next year, and then you've also got the likes of Queven Keller, who's also only got 1 year left, and you've also got the likes of Ibrahim Konate, who's only got 1 year left. So Ibrahim Konate is probably going to go up to 150 grand because he deserves it, because he should be on par as, you know, as a solid defender, you know, 100, 120, maybe 150. I think probably 150 for Konate. Robbo's on 160. He's not going to be. Robbo's on 160. He's not going to get a pay rise. He's either going to get sold or he'll get a reduction, and rightly so. Like, he'll be 31. So you have to look at what we've done before, and what we've done before is we haven't given big contracts to players that are getting old. One of the biggest things that probably broke Edwards and Klopp was Jordan Henderson getting a 4-year contract when he was 29. Edwards was so against that, and Klopp pushed it all the way to FSG. And Edwards would have been so against giving Mo a new contract on the money that he wanted when he was 29 as well, by the way. Just interesting, same age. Like, Klopp would have had to have gone to the board again. Like, this is just a fact. Like, so the Virgil van Dijk one, they haven't spoken to me, and Salah, they haven't spoken to me. They're probably not going to speak to you. They're probably not going to speak to you because you probably won't be getting offered a new contract, because we probably talked to the agents, and the agent said he wants 3 years. He wants 3 years. He wants this much. He wants that much, and there's been no conversation, because it's like, we're not going to do that. Like, we're not going to jeopardize our wage structure. We're not going to jeopardize how much we're paying players at the club. Like, when there's an opportunity now to get the wage structure back under 200,000, and there is, you can clearly see. We take Mo, Virgil, and Trent out of the equation, we can have a nice wage structure at 200 cap, which I think is sustainable and is a brilliant model to work at. And maybe that's what we're looking at. You don't want to be playing around with the wage structure, because it really does affect the harmony in the dressing room. And if all three of those guys leave, Andy Robinson is the highest paid player at the club, and for me, he's probably the worst player we've got in our first team. So that will change. That will change drastically. Like, that will change drastically. And the rest of them are all on high contracts that run till 2028, 2027. We've still got 4 years, 3 years, 4 years on most of those players. But the one we need to get done, we need to see if we can sign Trent. But I don't think Trent will accept less than 350. And I don't think we're going to offer 350 to anyone now. I think we're done. Like, I genuinely believe. And if you also look at the Zubimendi contract, we offered 150,000. We offered 150,000 to Federico Chiesa. He was getting offered more money at Bayern Munich, Barcelona. I feel like we're taking the wages down now. I feel like we're doing the sensible thing, and we're reducing the wages on players because they've been obscene. They've been obscene for way too long. Like to have players that were earning so much money that were never playing football, like Thiago and Oxlade-Chamberlain and Naby Keita, all earning, 140,000 to 200,000 pounds a week is just insanity. Like we just don't run our club like this. And we've now got a guy back who does run the club. Like he has final say. Don't be surprised if these three players all leave. Don't be surprised because he doesn't give big contracts to old players because there's no value in them. There's no value in those players anymore. Andy Robertson won't get a new contract. He won't. Konate will, because Konate's still got sell-on value. Trent will get offered one because he's still got sell-on value. But he won't get the money that he wants. I wanted to talk about that today because I think it's really important. Because I've looked into it and looking at the way the club was ran, this makes a lot of sense to me. I think you can also look at what we used to pay years ago as well. No, I don't think you can. Oh, here we go. Yeah. 14% of our payroll was just on Mo Salah. I mean, that's just insane, isn't it? It's just insane. If 14% of our entire payroll at Liverpool was just on Mo. Like crazy, crazy numbers. What else did I want to talk about? What was it? Yeah, I also wanted to just touch on the players that are not at the club. So these are some of the highlights. Obviously, Owen Beck got sent off. If you didn't know about this, this was really unusual. Owen Beck got bit. Owen Beck got bit on the neck and retaliated, and he got sent off in his game against Blackburn. And I don't know what's happened to that guy, but I think he'll get a really high ban. He'll leave on a free. He'll just walk out the club. He's only got a year left on his contract. I think his contract ends next year. Also, a couple more updates. Ben Doak played half an hour for Middlesbrough, but they lost to Sunderland. Gordon came on for his debut at Norwich, and they won 4-1 against Watford. Kumas started for Stoke. Stoke were winning 1-0, but then they ended up getting beat 3-1. Calvin Ramsey and Luke Chambers played in their game. Luke Chambers played the entire game. And also Lucas Stevenson played for Dundee. Nat Phillips also came on in the Sheffield United game, but they lost. So this is just a little bit about what they did. So you've obviously got Stefan Bajcetic. I also wanted to touch on Stefan Bajcetic as well because he played in the Champions League and they got tonked. They got spanked. They got beat 3-0. They were awful. And it does show the inexperience of the lad. It does show that it looks like Slot was right to send him out on loan. Like it looks like he made the right decision. He wasn't ready for the first team. It looks like Tyler Morton is probably more suited for the first team than Stefan Bajcetic, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine. But it's good to have all these youngsters getting some game time, which is great. It's what we want to see, and they're all playing for decent clubs as well. I mean, Lewis Kumas and Luke Chambers and Owenbeck are probably having the best loans so far. And obviously Scanlon's injured, Pitaluga and Mosrek and also Williams didn't play. What else have we got? I also wanted to bring this up as well, which I think is interesting because we talk about these contracts, but there are rumours that Luis Diaz is going to get an improved contract. He's on 54,000 at the moment. I think Luis Diaz will probably bump up to about 100, maybe even higher. Like that's going to be a big increase in a contract. Now, Diaz is 27. So do we extend his contract when he's going into his prime? Because when his contract finishes, he'll have left his prime and he may well have decreased in value. Or do we sell him at the highest he'll be at the end of this season? Or do we just not renew? It'd be interesting to find out what you think in the chat, because that is an interesting contract, because he's currently on 55,000 a week, and his contract expires in June 2027, which is 3 years away. So he still has a huge amount of time in his contract. But he's 27. So he'll be 30 when his contract expires, and we're giving him a pay rise. We're giving him a new contract, which means we're extending that to 5 years. I don't know how I feel about it. Is there a way of being able to just give him a pay rise and not increase his contract? I don't know how that works. I don't know how you feel about that, but so far so good with Diaz, and maybe we give him a 1 year extension and give him double his wages, puts him on 100,000. But I can see Luis Diaz looking for 150. I really can, because if he went to Saudi, or he went to Barcelona, or he went to PSG, none of those clubs are interested anymore, by the way. But if he did, then he probably could earn 150, and he's probably doing the numbers that should earn him 150, if I'm honest. Nunez is on 140. Jota's on 140. It does make sense that he's on comparative wages to the rest of the forward line. Chiesa is on 150. The fact that he's on, it feels a little bit like the Mo Salah and the Mane comparison. Like Mo was on mega bucks and Mane wasn't. It feels like that's the kind of needle which you don't need. Yeah, I didn't know whether you could or you couldn't. Interesting. It's 40 plus here. If you can like and subscribe, that'd be great. If you've got any comments, please hit me up in the chat. Any questions? So obviously there's talks about Diaz getting an extension or getting a new contract. Also, this guy's popped up again. Joshua Kimmich. Paris Saint-Germain have pulled out and they're not interested in Kimmich now, which means Liverpool have a free run at him. We've looked at him before. I don't think this is ever going to go anywhere, because the guy earns 350 grand a week, I think, which is just numbers that we're just not going to entertain. So I don't think that's a go because of the wages. I think this is quite interesting because there seems to be a lot of pundits that are talking about Trent leaving and thinking that Trent will probably go to Real Madrid. And we can all sit here and say that he's a red and he's and he wants to be the captain and all that stuff. Like, I think Virgil needs to go for Trent to be the captain for a start. But Trent has won everything at Liverpool. Like, he's won everything. Like, he's kind of completed football at Liverpool. Like, he's at an age where he could go and be a Galactico. Like, he can go and win the Champions League and win more league titles and play in the sun and earn 300 grand, 400 grand, 500 grand. Like, get all of the mega deals, be the face of England, just like Jude is, and just not be hated as much as he is in the UK, because so many teams hate him, so many pundits hate on him. Like, and he can just get away from it all and not be under this constant pressure that he's under. And he might just be able to play more of a natural game if he goes there. Like, I don't know how I feel. Like, I feel like we could be holding him back by keeping him, but selfishly we want to keep him because he's amazing. But I feel like Slot needs to get Klopp out of his shadow, and I feel like the only way he can do that is by getting rid of Mo, Virgil, and Trent. And this is an ideal opportunity for them all to leave the club, and for Slot to then work with what he's got, which is a new burgeoning team of unbelievable talent, and move away from the old guard. And it makes sense that we've got a goalkeeper which is going to replace Alisson. Makes a lot of sense. Like, if you just break it down into the squad, and I'm just going to bring up the squad here. I wanted to do this anyway. So just think of it as a new coach coming in, yeah, and an old coach has left, and he's left in with a brilliant team, but he's also left in with a number of players which have been at the club for a long time, okay, and are aging, yeah. Okay. So first of all, we've now got a replacement for Alisson, yeah. So that's done. That's ticked off. Okay, we can tick that one off. Okay. So if Ali goes next year, we decide to sell Ali next year and bring in Mamadashvili, I think we're okay. I think we're okay. Okay. I think we've got a guy who is not injury prone and is very high in goalkeepers. He's not Alisson. Nobody's Alisson. Yeah, nobody's Alisson. But we have a guy that's parative to be an Alisson in the future. But we also need to get away from talking about players being other players. Like, we need to stop comparing players by going, oh, we need a Virgil van Dijk replacement. No, we don't. We just need another defender. We're not going to get a Virgil van Dijk replacement because you can't replace Virgil van Dijk. And you can't replace Salah. And you can't replace Alisson. But what you can get is you can get a guy that can come in and do a job and be maybe 80% as good as that guy. Okay. So here we go. We've already got Alisson's replacement for me. Okay. In Mamadashvili. And have a look at the save Mamadashvili pulled off at the weekend, by the way. If you think you've seen one of the best saves this season by the Arsenal goalkeeper, you should go and watch Mamadashvili save. It is absolutely unbelievable. Okay, that's tied off. That's done. Jaros' contract ends next year. If he gets a new contract, he's on number 2, and Keller can move on. That's a fact. Okay, we're looking at selling Keller. Okay, I know we don't want to sell him, but he wants to leave. Okay, so that's your 1 and your 2 in place, and then you've got a backup in Harvey Daves. Yeah, okay, you've got backup with Harvey Daves or whoever. Okay, so that's your goalkeepers done. You've got Mamadashvili next year, and then you've got Jaros as your number 2. I'm absolutely fine with that. I'm absolutely fine with that. I think that's a good goalkeeping setup. Looks good to me. Now you got your defenders. We tried to sell Gomez. Gomez has been at the club longer than any other player. We tried to sell him. We tried to offload him to Newcastle for Anthony Gordon. Okay, so that's another old head that we tried to move on. So that's another player that will be gone next year. So Gomez will be gone next year. Okay, so that's one player gone. Virgil van Dijk's contract expires and he leaves. That's another player gone. Kostas Tsimikas was heavily linked away. That could be another player gone. So you've now got 1, 2, 3 defenders that were Klopp's old guard. Tsimikas has been with us 5 years. Virgil van Dijk's been with us 7, maybe even 8. Yeah. Konate gets a new contract. He becomes the main central defender at Liverpool, who's been there the longest. Yeah. Andy Robertson's contract expires next year. Virgil van Dijk's contract expires. Andy Robinson's expires the year later. Trent's expires next year. Gerald Konate will be a regular footballer then. He will play for us more often, which means he will be the guy that plays next to Konate if Virgil van Dijk goes. Or we sign a Jonathan Tah or a Mark Gahey. And then you've got Konate, Konate, Gahey, and one more. Who could that one more be? Who could that one more be? I don't know. I don't know. It could be Hincapié. It could be Inacio. But we're looking at plenty of players. There's plenty of players that we're looking at that are out there. So in 2 years, I'm not saying 1 year. I'm saying 2 years, by the way. Sorry. I'm not saying 1 year. I'm saying 2 years. Okay. I'm saying 2 years. Okay. But I'm looking at the way we're moving with players. We'll be looking at refreshing the team. And Gomez will be gone. Virgil van Dijk might leave on a free. Kostas Tsimikas will probably sell. He's 28. Andy Robinson's up for contract renewal 2026. 2025. No, 2026. We may sell him on. Trent, we may give a new contract so he may stay. But then we've got Conor Bradley. We've also got Chambers. We've also got Ramsey. We've also got Mallow. We've also got players that are around. Lucas Stevenson's on loan. We've still got players that can come in and do a job in there, and they'll be 2 years older or 1 year older. So there could be a lot of change in the defence next year. Then you've got the midfield. This feels like the most stable part of the team and the attack, by the way. Brathwaite, you're absolutely right. Brathwaite could be one that comes in. It's interesting that he's not even in the Everton team because he's still injured. Endo will be gone. Dom's fine. McAllister's fine. Curtis is fine. Elliott's fine. Gravenberch is fine. Tyler Morton might start becoming more regular. Trey Ione is going to be in and around the West Ham team tomorrow. That's already been confirmed by Slot. And then you get one more in. So you get Zubimendi in, or you get, I don't know, Adam Wharton in, or you get Florian Wirtz in. I don't know. I don't know who. But you might get another midfielder in there, which then bolsters the midfield, which means you've got a really strong midfield. Stefan Bajcetic will come back. You know, the midfield looks really, really good for next year and the years on. Like, no one's got contracts that are expiring. We're not looking at letting anyone leave, really, apart from Wataru Endo. And then you've got your forward line. Forward line looks fantastic. If Mo goes, then we bring in another guy. We bring in maybe a Kudus. You know, there's plenty of options there. Even if we didn't bring one in, we've still got 5 players. Still got 5 forwards. Like, it's the defence which really makes me think, what could happen there? There's a lot going on in that area. There's a lot of guys that may leave, contracts in a year or two. There's a lot of issues in there for me. Maybe one midfielder in. I think we probably need 2 next year. And that probably explains why we were looking at a lot of players. Linked with a lot of players. We're now linked with Anthony Robinson again from Fulham. We're now heavily linked with him. We're linked with El Nouri. We've been linked with Branthwaite. We've been linked with Mark Gahey. I think there's a bit of change going on there. And I don't know whether Virgil van Dijk's going to be here next year. I don't know whether Trent's going to be here next year. If you take 2 out of that equation, you need reinforcements. And those reinforcements are probably going to be on high wages because we need big players to come in to fill big boots. And if you just look at those players that could move on, that's the old guard from Klopp. The other players, they've only spent a year under Jurgen. Some of them a year, 2 years max under Jurgen. It would feel a lot more comfortable to get, in the space of a year or two, to have a squad that is mainly yours. You know, they know your football. You know, they've been with you a long time. You know, they went with the old manager for long, like a year. Like Darwin Nunez could leave. That's a possibility. Darwin Nunez could leave. If it doesn't work out for him this season, he could possibly leave. Kudus is a guy that I know our committee were all over. Like, they wanted this guy. They wanted this guy. Wirtz, I believe we offered, I think it was 86 million for him in the summer, and they just turned us down. There's been a lot of rumours that we're looking at 3 Bayer Leverkusen players in Frimpong, Palacios, and Wirtz. There's a lot of rumours that we're looking at those 3 specific players. Palacios is a defensive midfielder, but he is injury prone, but he's a very good player. The Hincapié one is dead. Like, it's not being talked about. Florian Wirtz and also Frimpong. The reason why Frimpong is because Frimpong's numbers match with Trent. Just everything he does is on par with what Trent does, but he obviously scores more goals. I don't know how it plays out, but like I said, I'm so excited with the way Liverpool are playing this season. Our football's been sensational. I've given you the numbers, and long may it continue. But I wanted to talk about the contracts. I also wanted to kind of show you the squad and the fact that there could be some changes. There could be some changes in the next 6 months, 6 to 8 months. And I'm starting to get the feeling that we are going to be going back to the way Edwards ran the club when he was director of football. And I don't think we're going to be giving crazy money to old players in contracts. I just don't think it's going to happen. We're now almost in October, and we haven't even spoken to Salah or Trent or Virgil, and they're free to talk to agents in January. Like they can literally publicly be offered contracts in January. I think we now I think we now need to start looking at the fact that there could only be one of them staying. Two of them could be moving on freeze. We may be letting Mo and Virgil walk out the club on free transfers because we don't want to give them massive pay, like almost like 18 million a year on Mo, like, and he's 32, like, and 11.5 million a year on Virgil van Dijk, and he's 33. Like, these are insane numbers for any club to pay for players that are that old, that could easily break down and be done. Like, it's happened. We watched it happen with a number of our previous players in Henderson, Fabinho, happened with Mane, happened with Bobby. They all mattered. They all broke down after a certain amount of time. When they get to a certain age, they decline. Like, even Milner. I know Milner was what Milner was, but Milner was absolutely dreadful for a number of years. Like, as pace wise and being able to stay in games. Like that's why he was used as a sub consistently for 2 years. So we have to look at the bigger picture. The bigger picture is sustainability and the club surviving, and breaking our wage structure again for old players is just not a good idea. Manchester United did it and we laugh at them. I just don't think we're going to do it. I think they're going to have to get pay decreases, and I think the highest we're ever going to go for anything is Mo's. So Trent might get 350, and that'll be it. And Mo will get decreased, and Virgil will get decreased. But I don't think they'll do that because Saudi Arabia and Real Madrid and Barcelona and Bayern Munich and PSG are all going to offer silly money, and we're just not in that game. We weren't when Edwards was director of football, and now he's back as COO. We're not going to be now. And the proof's in the pudding. We signed Chiesa and we offer him 150. Like, he got offered more at other clubs, and the maximum we went to with Zubimendi was 150. It makes sense. It makes a lot of sense to me, and it's wise. Anyway, I think we're in a good place. I'm really happy with what we're seeing. Liverpool starting to break records again, like for the way we played. I know a lot of you don't agree with what I'm saying. Like, I understand that. I understand that a lot of you aren't agreeing with what I'm saying. But we have to move on. And I feel like Slot does need to get Klopp's shadow away from him in the next year or two. And the way he'll do that is by getting rid of those players that were playing for Klopp for years and years. And he's already started to do it. He's done it with Alisson. He's potentially going to do it with Mo, Virgil, and Trent because all their contracts expire next year, and there's been no talks. I just feel like it makes a lot of sense, and I'm absolutely fine with it because we need to move on. Like we didn't think we could move on from Bobby and Mane, and they all left, and we moved on. You know, it's really hard. You can't replace them. You can't replace those players. But what you can do is you could get a player that can play there who's really good. That's all you can do, and then see what happens. But you can't say, I've got myself another Virgil replacement, because you haven't got Virgil. So no. But I showed you the numbers, and I feel like we're trying to get our wage budget down to under 200 million. Sorry, to under 2 million a week, because it was over 3 million not long ago, and it's not sustainable. Anyway, I'm going to finish here. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you can hit like and subscribe, that'd be great. If you've got any comments, just write them in the comments. I'll reply back. We had a great result against Bournemouth, played really well, scored goals, and then just stopped playing, shut shop. We can do that. We can do that now. If that was last season and we'd have gone 3-0 up, that game could have ended up 3-2. Like, it just could have. So that's how I feel. I just wanted to show you the contract stuff and also do a little bit of news. I didn't want to depress anyone, but I also wanted to kind of just show you that, like, this is a good thing, what we're doing. Like, what we are doing as a club is a good thing. Like, we're managing the club really well. You know, we're selling youngsters that aren't going to make it and making a huge amount of profit. We're future-proofing for players when they leave, like Alisson. We may do that with Virgil. We may do that with Salah. I don't know. But let's just get behind the manager. And if you do go to the game, please stay to the end. We can't be having fans leaving early. It's just not how it works. Support your club through thick and thin. I think we'll get a good result against West Ham. West Ham are all over the place. They've got a terrible manager. So I think we'll probably take advantage. I don't think there'll be as many changes as everybody thinks. I might do a preview tomorrow. I don't know. But at the moment, I've just done a review of the last game. If you're joining now, go and watch it back. It's a good show. I've gone into great detail on a lot of stuff. I am out of here. You have a lovely evening wherever you are in the world, and up the Reds, and in Slot we trust. Bye-bye.